Morning, welcome to the Fractal Effects live stream. Please make sure you read the disclosure. If you're following along with us today, make sure you're doing a demo account, as this is for educational purposes only. We are not financial advisors, and this is not financial advice. Now let's jump onto the charts. So we got NAS here on the left, and US 500 on the right. We are looking at the CFD contracts. We have an upside expansion model happening. We did have news drop today at 10 o'clock. Push the market down. We have no confirmation as of yet. So we have swept London low, Asia lows. We are still primarily bullish on the higher time frame. New York fair value gaps all the way up here. US 500, same thing. We have an upside expansion model, consolidation here. We've swept all the lows. And usually when we're bullish, Tuesday does set the low for the week when you're looking at a weekly candle. It's patiently waiting now. So we would like to see a retracement. Hopefully we get a confirmation first, then a retracement back to 20 EMA. This is the fair value gap left by the news. Ideally, we'd like to see 50% of it traded into, which is like the consequence encroachment. And right into Asia's fair value gap. Slowly starting to see that retracement now. Ideally, we would have liked to get a confirmation, bearish confirmation, then a move back in. This is my point of interest right now. Consequence encroachment, midpoint of this fair value gap, which is matching up with the Asia fair value gap and the 20 EMA. That'll also put us at 50%. Right now, US 500 close to taking those lows again. Just patiently waiting now. Since we had a pretty big drop, I do expect at least a decent retracement. And again, if it takes off without us, that's fine. Let's see if we get the retracement before or after the confirmation. US 500 already taken those lows now. That's the news gap for US 500. Same thing, 20 EMA, Asia fair value gap. Still no confirmation. Remember, it's a three-step process: confirmation, retracement, extension. Now we could get a retracement before we get confirmation, but then I want to see how it reacts in here. And there are some advanced models, once you become an expert with the strategy, where you can, if we do get that retracement before we get confirmation, you can start looking for an entry, but again, that's not something a beginner should be thinking about. We just want to get you familiar with the actual strategy. We're slowly starting to get a confirmation, bearish confirmation for US 500. Let's see if NAS follows in suit. 1 second, so that's going to stick. Now we want to see it retrace, even though there is a fair value gap. Excuse me. Actually, we do not have a small, I thought there was a small fair value gap in here. Let's see if this one sticks. Still being formed, but ideally I'd like to see it push up. Okay, push down. Now let's see if this confirmation sticks. We got 3 minutes and 6 seconds left. For US 500, let's see if this fair value gap sticks. Remember to move your fib levels. You always want to know where the golden zone is. So although we don't have a confirmation, we have swept the lows. These two markets are working together right now. Minutes left. Let's see if we get a confirmation or if it just starts pushing back up. The reason we want to watch it carefully here is if we don't get that confirmation, this thing could just push right through, take out the highs. A lot of straight lines up here. And the market does not like straight lines. Slowly getting that retracement now. US 500 has filled in that potential fair value gap. Slowly heading to the point of interest. 20 EMA, midpoint of that news gap. We also have Asia's fair value gap. Still no confirmation on NAS. EMA now at the bottom of that news gap. About 15 minutes till 11. Let's see if we shoot up, tap this. But again, we have no confirmation yet. On a day like this, I will not be looking for an early entry. We do have a confirmation on US 500. But I want to see these two markets working together. This just could be the divergence, the false move. So now we're slowly entering that news gap. Let's see what it does here. See it bounce off this red 20 EMA. US 500, bearish confirmation. Haven't quite hit it yet. US 500 slowly moving into that fair value gap now. I want to see it hit that 20 EMA, hit the midpoint of that fair value gap, and give us some kind of reaction. I'd even like to see if it takes out this high. NAS, again, slowly entering that news fair value gap. 20 EMA. Let's see what happens here. But we have no confirmation yet. So if this thing does tap here and drop, that means it'll most likely move fast, maybe only using the bottom of the dealing range. US 500 now at that 20 EMA, right at that consequence encroachment of that fair value gap. NAS trying to get up there, trying to tap this 20. Same thing, I'd like to see if NAS gets above this high. Okay, so we're at the 20 now. Let's see what kind of reaction we get. Still driving up higher. So we've taken out these highs, hit the consequence encroachment. We're tapping Asia's fair value gap. Let's see how high this wants to go and if it wants to turn back around. Still bullish now. We have a bearish confirmation. Whereas on NAS, we have no confirmation. Again, that's what we were waiting for. I want to see these two markets moving together. Otherwise, this thing could just continue to drive up. Now I want to see some bearish confluence here. We're at the 50%. We do have an upside expansion model, but at the same time we have a bearish box and one bearish confirmation here. I want to see more confluence. Both markets still continuing to drive up. No bearish confluence yet. Slowly starting to get a red candle here. We got still 4 minutes left. Remember, whichever market it is that you're watching, you want to make sure you're looking at it on multiple time frames. 1 minute, 5 minute, 15 minute. There's only so many screens we can share right now. So when I'm looking for bearish confluence, I'm looking for it across all those time frames. And right now, like I said, we're very bullish and still have no confirmation. And this market could push all the way through and give us a bullish confirmation. At which point US 500 would have a false day. A false day happens when you get a confirmation to one side, but then it breaks the range to the other side. And since these two markets are supposed to be working together, depending on when that happens and how that happens, we might actually pass on a trade today. But for the time being, we're still in the golden zone of the fib. We're still in that news fair value gap, but no signs of any bullish confluence yet. Bearish confluence yet. It's all just bullish right now. Three minutes away from 11. Could bounce off the 50, push down right at 61%. When we're bullish, Tuesday usually sets the low for the week. Previous day's lows are actually right here at the bottom for NAS. So that means we could still turn around here and crash right through. Still no bearish confluence on either market. Just driving up. But as simple as that. It's paint by colors, paint by numbers. Literally. You get a confirmation, you look for a retracement, you want to see signs of actually bearish behavior, confluence that this thing wants to push down on multiple time frames, and then you get the extension. And once you get a confirmation to one side, it should not break the other side of this range. Remember, this is 20 years of aggregate data. Still driving up. Right at that golden zone now, 61%. Still within this fair value gap. Let's see if it just wants to push through and keep going, or if we're going to get a turnaround. Still no confirmation on NAS. Market still driving. US 500 has now at least started giving us a bearish candle. Let's see if that sticks. Again, I don't like the fact that we did not get a confirmation for NAS. We got one briefly. It's a very small confirmation on US 500. So these markets are not working side by side right now, even though we did sweep the lows. NAS swept the lows one last time. You can see on the left side there with the cursor. Whereas US 500 did not. So this is the weaker market. So NAS could technically push this all the way, or pull this all the way back up. That's why we want to be very careful. We're right at the 61%. Let's drop in a fib here as well. Still nothing of interest. Remember, we have no bullish confirmation, so we're not looking for a buy. We have one bearish confirmation, and the market is still extremely bullish. So it makes our decision very easy. Everything has to match up. You want the box color to match up with your confirmation and your confluence to go short within the range. Simple as that. 61%. So we are seeing some gesticulation happening. Rejection right in the golden zone. We are outside of the news gap now for US 500, so that's been filled. And for NAS as well. Still no bearish confluence on any time frame for US 500, and no confirmation for NAS. Let's see if we can't get a confirmation out of NAS in the next 25 minutes, otherwise we will conclude this session. Remember, you want to be in a trade within the first hour of the range formation. The longer you stay in after that, the lower the probabilities become. We are high probability traders. 70% or higher. Anything lower than that is gambling. So we are getting some gesticulation happening here, consolidation. 1, 2, this is our third candle, bouncing off the 238 EMA. And right in 61%, but I want to see more confluence on a smaller time frame. Over 1 hour a day. That's the most we want to be watching the markets. Be it the New York session, the Asia session, or the London session. 1 hour after range formation. If you don't get into a trade by then, let's call it a day. And now all the alerts are working. For anybody who doesn't want to wade through all this slop, for example, NAS, if you had set this alert up, you would still not even be looking at the market because your notification would not have triggered on your phone. Still driving up higher, even though we have some consolidation happening there on US 500. We still do not have a full bearish signal. And I don't like the fact that we are not in sync with NAS. So the probabilities decrease. Usually you want to see those confirmations at the same time. And the fact that NAS swept lows before it started pushing up, and US 500 did not, I'm very leery to even start looking for a sell here. I think we'll focus on NAS today. NAS will give us all the telltale signs that we need as far as where both of these markets are going. And right now, NAS is still bullish. Same thing, we're kind of just stuck in that golden zone, but there is no bearish signs yet. Got 20 minutes left in the stream. Remember, the second we get a bullish confirmation, if this thing breaks this entire range and gives us a bullish confirmation, these two markets are not working together. So that's something we don't want to see. We're at the 238, we're at the 61% to 71%. Just be patient. Remember, day trading is not everyday trading. If the setup is not there, if you don't see a high probability trade setup, you don't take it. And make sure if you're following along with us, please make sure you're in a demo account. It's easy to set one up with broker. Still driving up. Looks like it's making its way all the way back to the New York fair value gap. If we had a bearish confirmation, this would have been a good area to actually see if the market pushes all the way back down to break the bottom. The fact that we don't have a bearish confirmation here, the fact that we're this close to the top of the dealing range, it could just push through, take out the tops. Still driving up. About 15 minutes left in our stream. We're right at that golden zone now. Let's see what happens here. If it actually wants to push down, this is pretty much the last area. After it taps this fair value gap, for example, or taps this fair value gap, that's the last possible area. It could turn back around. Right now, we have no bearish confirmation. Extremely bullish. These two markets are not in sync. And the fact that NAS swept the lows, that divergence between NAS and US 500, shows that this thing has already taken as much liquidity as it can down here and wants to potentially take this liquidity point. And for beginners, we always wait for a confirmation. Still in that zone, 79, 71%. But again, I think this thing wants to push up, take out the highs. Fourteen minutes left of the stream. Still driving higher. US 500, close to the New York fair value gap. A lot of breakaway gaps here. Again, very bullish. So I'm ignoring this bearish confirmation just because we didn't get one over here. 12 minutes left in our stream. Again, this thing looks like it's actually pushing up to take out the highs now. I don't like seeing that kind of divergence. Still driving. We are getting some gesticulation here, but again, this is too bullish. We are paused here, 79%. But what we'll most likely see is a slight push down, and then maybe a drive up. There's too much divergence happening here to be looking for a sell. And if it does, again, we got to trust our probabilities. Now, waiting for all these points of confluence at times, waiting for or lining up divergence and things like that, means that we miss out on some trades, and that's fine. But the trades we do enter are high probability trades. Starting to see a little bit of a push down now on NAS. Still right at the 79%. Still extremely bullish. 7 minutes left in our stream. Most likely will not get a bullish confirmation in the next two candles, at which point our probabilities decrease anyways, especially with this divergence. Yeah, still driving up. Now we're above 79%. Candle close. Five minutes left in our stream. And again, it's our rules that save us, though, from bad trades. As soon as you saw a bearish confirmation here, there were no actual signs this thing wanted to drop. Remember, anytime we see three candles reject like this, it's at least a telltale sign, especially since it's bouncing off the 50 EMA, but none of these candles are red. There's no bearish confluence at all on a smaller time frame. There were no fair value gaps left to the downside. This thing's just continuously driving up. And now we're at the New York fair value gap. Could it still drop from here? It could. But then we're too close to 11:30 right now anyways. Finally getting a candle wick right there at 88%. New York fair value gap. US 500 has yet to actually hit the fair value gap. Still getting a little bit of gesticulation there at the top. Now it's wicking from New York fair value gap, 88%. A little late at this point. This thing could, again, push down, but we're way too bullish. It's too late in the game. minute left. Still no signs of bearishness. We will most likely conclude the session there. Thanks for checking us out. Make sure you go to fractaleffects.com, where we teach algorithmic trading. Make sure you turn on your notifications and hit the subscribe button. We are live Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays for the time being.